What is going on, dudes and lady dudes? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today, I'm doing a discussion video talking about the new format yet again. I wanted something quick and easy to do because I am about to go on vacation, so I wanted to try and make sure I had videos for you, and then we'll get back to the regular stuff once I get back. But I want to do something quick and easy and fun. And so pretty much what I want to talk about today is we know this. We know Spiral is the new deck to beat. We know Altergeist is a top tier competitor as well. But after that, we kind of just have like a big pool of what's good and what was just barely able to top at Pro Play Games Orlando. And so, here I'm going to be talking about a bunch of decks that I still believe have a chance to be very good, if not just tier 1 straight up. If we're going to have another, 3 or 4 deck tier 1 like we did last format, which decks have the chance to do it, or at least just be relevant to the point where, like, you should know the matchup, you should know how to play against them, and you should know a side deck for them. That kind of stuff. There. So, without further ado, let's get started with my man, my big boy, Subterra Guru, and his deck coming up first. I really don't take too much stock in the fact that they didn't top Pro Play Games to Orlando at all. I believe I heard that there were 3, maybe 4 players in the entire field. So, if none of those people convert to top cut, like, that's not like a like the representation was so small. And I'm curious to see why. I'm curious why so many people chose Altergeist, because Altergeist did, I think, have over 10 players playing it as far as representation goes. So I'm curious there. But one thing that is interesting, even more so, is when Lightning Storm comes out, and that becomes a very popular side deck card for a lot of decks against stuff like Subterrors and Altergeist. Subterrors, through their own engine, search and Omni Negate. You have a 1 free stop of a blowout card, like Lightning Storm, like Evenly Matched, like Twin Twisters. You have 1 free say no to one of those, and then you might already be playing Solemn Judgment. Whereas for Altergeist, they just kind of have to have Solemn Judgment, or they just kind of lose. They just kind of trade like 3 or 4 cards for 1, and so that can be really, really bad. So I still think Subterrors are very good. Obviously, Altergeists are just a little bit better swarming the field, but I still think it's a really good control deck. A lot of things that can go well for it, and play a bunch of hand traps to shut down spirals and stuff, and have a really good chance in this format. So do not sleep on Subterrors one bit. Next up, I'm talking about Luna Lights. This is another deck that I'm pretty excited for, especially with new Time Thief support coming out. Don't sleep on that, because one of the big things about this deck is that it just topped playing Redoer and saying that, like, it actually uses Redoer fairly a good amount, and now we're getting Perpetua, and we're getting the Counter Trap, and we're getting like other Time Thief cards, and it's possible that these decks might be meldable together to form one hybrid that's like really, really strong. Luna Light's can set up pretty good boards going first, and it's actually pretty proficient at breaking boards. And even if you can't get all the way there, you almost always end with like a solid follow-up play, which is really good as well in a grindy match. So really, really strong. I really like what I saw on that list at Pro Play Games Tour Orlando. I'm really curious in the deck now just because of that version of the deck, and I'm definitely going to take a little more of a look into it. But definitely don't sleep on Luna Lights just yet. Next up, we have Dinosaurs. This is another deck that did top Pro Play Games Tour Orlando. And it's really good. Most people are going to be playing this at going second version. You probably should be. And yeah, it's just strong. There's so many just insanely powerful cards in this deck. You're looking at Oviraptor. You're looking at Fossil Dig, an insanely non-once per turn Rhoda card for all dinosaurs. Miscellaneousaurus, Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, Fossil Dig, the Pankratops. There's so many insanely powerful cards. Lost World. I just think the deck has so many powerful cards that you can draw, and then pair that with the new monster coming out, and pair that with just, I don't know, generic cards like hand traps to fill in the gaps called by the grave so you don't lose to hand traps yourself. And you've got a really strong strategy here. So don't sleep on Dinosaurs in the slightest. I'm telling you, it will be a mistake. Next up, we've got Pendulums, another deck that was not able to top, and I don't really think it means that much. I don't think that many players are playing it, because I think a lot of Pendulum players might have jumped off the bandwagon once Electromite and Servant did get their respective hits on the ban list. But I really don't think it's that much for, like, arguably the best build even before that. I don't think that many people were playing the non-Pendulum summon oriented version of the deck where you're playing a bunch of spell counter cards, you're playing all the Endymion cards, and you're playing like extra cards, like what is it, the library, and you're also playing the field spell, the Endymion field spell, just for counters because they're just so powerful and stuff. And the deck grinds really well, and it has really tough outs once they get set up. And yeah, it's solid. I still think it's pretty solid. You still have 4 copies of Servant at least, and a bunch of draw capabilities and stuff. It's good. I really do think it's like still pretty good. So definitely don't sleep on them. They're still legit. There's just so much utility in the deck, and we'll see where they go from here because they will still be good. We'll be seeing Triff very soon. Next up, we got Burning Abyss. This deck did not top the Pro Play Games Tour, but it is still a very, very powerful and scary deck for anybody who has played against it, has any kind of experience playing against it. It is very scary. It legitimately is. It can set up some of the nastiest boards in the game at the moment. It has the ability to OTK going second. Just a lot of explosivity with a very versatile extra deck pairing of cards and stuff. You've got its like super versatility to go into Nightmares. You've got stuff like the Abusal of Cherubini, in that you may only need to use 2, maybe 3 cards out of your hand to do the full combo, and then you end your turn with like 2 or 3 cards still in hand, and after doing such an insane combo. So you are able to grind even if your opponent is able to break through the nasty board. It's just strong, man. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like don't sleep on it. Don't forget about this deck for sure. It has a chance to be legit. Next up, we got Magical Musketeer Caspar, a deck that was played by a pretty well-known pilot at Pro Play Games Orlando, but I really wanted him to top, but he was not able to, unfortunately. But it's a really cool deck. A lot of people find that the best version of this deck is going second. I don't know if I'm 100% sold on that. I understand that their first turn plays are like lacking for sure, but like some of these decks are like, some of the decks in the game are just so hyper go first that like the ability to go first, just even if you don't set up anything crazy, but like 2 interruptions can just shut them down for sure. So you don't need to set up a 5 negate board, but 1 or 2 with like a follow-up play is pretty good as well. So don't sleep on that. I think the deck's just versatile. You have something for a lot of situations. You have a lot of searchability. You have a lot of rotation of resources, so the grind game can definitely be solid. And just to blow a card like Max, if it does resolve, you're probably going to win that duel. You just are. You're just probably going to win. It's so powerful there. So yeah, Magical Musketeers, don't sleep on them. They were one of the highest topping rogue decks from last format, and all the decks that were like overpowering it, keeping it out of like legitimate tier 1.5 status, got hit pretty hard. So they really do have a chance of making a move up. Next up is Orkest. This is one that actually had a fair amount of representation at Pro Play Games, but it did not top, and a lot of people might have just kind of almost forgotten about it, but you shouldn't. You really shouldn't. I've already seen too many replays of this deck still doing like very similar just like setups and plays that it did before. Yes, it's a little bit weaker than hand traps. Yes, it is a little bit less resilient, but it does still get you the same setups. It does still get you the powerful interactions that you're looking for, like dinging your opponent on their own turn. And yeah, because of that, I think you should not sleep on the deck. I still think it's a legitimate powerhouse in our game. Please do not sleep on Orkest. Next up, we've got Invoked, specifically Invoked Mech Knight. I don't really want to push pure Invoked until the new Master Rules come into effect. I really don't think it does enough until then. But for right now, at least, with the Mech Knight stuff, I think it's pretty good. I think the Mech Knights will get worse in the new Master Rule, but that's okay, because they do get a new insanely powerful card. For right now, though, I'm looking at Invoked Mech Knight. So with this, kind of the same thing with Magical Musketeers. This is a deck that didn't really top a whole lot. It had a couple here and there, but part of that was because like back in the day, it was super powerful. It was one of the strongest decks, and it got power crept by some of these new decks that are really, really good. And then all 6 of the decks that were like considered arguably our best 6 decks in the game got hit pretty substantially. And so now this deck has a chance to power creep that and only get better, and then even better once the new Master Rule rolls around. So definitely do not forget about Invoked. They are still pretty legit. And the last deck on the list is, yes, it's Sky Striker. I know. I'm sorry. I know you guys don't want to see this on here. I know you guys are probably just like, no, John, please, don't believe in Sky Striker. This deck needs to be gone. Engagement needed to be the hit that puts them away. Unfortunately, with the addition of Kagari to 3, this deck can still play. Now, I'm not saying it's still going to be tier 1. I don't think it's tier 1. I would actually put my money that, if anything, at best it's going to be tier 1.5 as a rogue control option, as a more roguish control option. But the deck grinds so hard now with Kagari at 3. Really, like, every turn you're just kind of like turboing the links. You're like, Hayate, dump a spell. Kagari, add the spell back. Shizuku, add a spell from deck to hand. And so you just ended up going +2, and all you had to do was like get a monster on board every single turn. So with all the removal, combine the removal, as long as you were able to not get overwhelmed, that is definitely a thing, is the deck did lose speed with Engage, because Engage lets you do so much on turn 1. So losing that definitely hurts a lot of the speed that the deck had. So you have to be able to like survive the initial wave of your opponent's offensive push. But if you can, you definitely will have a chance to outgrind them, and just over the course of multiple turns, you're just like afterburners, jamming waves, like getting 2-for-1s left and right, reviving stuff and linking up, and this deck actually, and with Rose as well, the deck actually gets into Boral Sword way easier now. The deck can actually make legit like link plays into like link boss monsters, which is really cool as well. Yeah, so I don't know, don't sleep on it, please. I'm like, just don't do it. Please don't do it, please don't do it. It's good. I just don't think it's tier 1 good, but you definitely still shouldn't be sleeping on it. So you just don't let it be one of those things where like you assume Strikers is gone, so you just like let it get out of your brain, like how to play the matchup, what you do against them, and also like thinking about how it's different with the ban list changes, because you should be ready for it if it does come up, because I do think this deck still has a chance to be something pretty good. And that's pretty much it. That's all the decks. I have 9 here between Sky Strikers, Invoked, Mech Knight specifically, Orkest, Magical Musketeer, Burning Abyss, Endymion / just Pendulums in general, Dinosaurs, Lunalights, and Sub-Terrors. Of course, guys, let me know if you think I missed anything. If you think there are any decks specifically that are in this class of decks that I think are a little bit underestimated at the moment and could make a push into tier 1 should the meta line itself up in an advantageous position for them. And yeah, definitely curious to hear your thoughts on that. Other than that, though, thank you so much for watching this video. As always, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet, as per usual, and I will see you in the next motherfucking video. Peace.